What's up, guys? Um, Something a little different, I guess. This is, of course, going up on YouTube. Um, Sorry, my voice sound. It probably sounds like I just woke up. I've actually been up, but my voice is shot from yesterday. Have a sore throat and stuff. I don't know. I might be sick actually, but I decided to kind of make this like kind of uh post Lamar reaction slash I don't know what I'm gonna title this, but I'm gonna kind of walk through, of course, not only what it means to me, but how I know certain tips that can help others in achieving, you know, a good endurance racing win and stuff. Um, and I couldn't say I knew it before because I never actually attempted it. But the time that I attempted it this time, the tricks that I tried, the stuff that I learned for this race, um, and now ending up winning, I definitely know that they work. So you know, first off though, I'm gonna start with winning Le Mans. What it means to me, what it means to the team, because this is something that um has been months and months in the making. The whole project, I guess, of setting out to win Le Mans. It was winning Le Mans honestly had been something I wanted to do since well before I got iRacing. I used to watch uh the sim or I used to watch Inside Sim Racing, and they did a 24 hours of Daytona, and that was kind of what got me into endurance, like iRacing, endurance racing, and this was back in maybe 2015, 2016. And then I saw Sim Pit do the 24 hours of Le Mans. I saw Jimmy Broadbent do the 24 hours of Le Mans. Um, and this was, before I had iRacing. And I knew I really wanted to set out to do that. It was something I wanted to do. And so, when I got iRacing, um, that was the goal of mine, is to win Le Mans. That truly was. Like, I know IR and stuff, yeah, now I have IR goals, stuff like that, but at the time it really was to win Le Mans. I remember the first ever endurance race I did on iRacing. It was 2 months after I got iRacing. Not even that. It was probably a month after I got iRacing. I uh did the 24 hours of Le Mans. Um, I saw someone posted something on Reddit about wanting to join up to do Le Mans, and I saw it, and I wanted to join up. So joined up. We ran into the Porsche GTE, Porsche 911 GTE, first ever endurance race I ever did. Um, and that race we ended up finishing P11. And the thing is it was at that point where I was like, man, this race is so special. Like, I want to win this one day. No matter what it takes, I want to win. I want to win this race. So fast forward another year, 2019. It's Le Mans season again, and I'd say about maybe 3 weeks before the race, the team got together and decided, and we set out to do it again. Started doing practicing. Felt very very confident. I felt excited. Felt like we can truly win this. Went into the race and had some issues. Finished P7, and then later found out I got kicked from the car because I was too slow, and it hurt, but it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, like if that's gonna happen, like I'm just gonna leave the team, because I was only on this team because I had friends in that specific car. But as soon as I got kind of kicked from that car because of being too slow, I didn't want to race with just random strangers in different cars. It just I wanted to race with friends. Um, and so I just left, and that's when I formed Big Bone Racing. Um, and at Big Bone we've been hunting for endurance wins for so long, and I know we've had the pace, we've had the practice, but we just haven't been able to do it. But I remember last or sorry, not last, it was this March, I believe, or April. I think it was like late March, early April. Like kind of around, yeah, late March, early April, somewhere in there. Like around Easter, I'd say. Um, I told the guys, Lamar's coming up, and this time, I want to take a different approach to this. I want to take a tactic, a more tactically approach. Basically, I just wanted to go into this race uh, much more like precise and much more um detailed than any other race. And we talked with the guys about it. We were deciding the car, and we came to the conclusion we wanted to do something completely different, something none of us had ever done. And that was to take either an LMP1 or LMP2 car. Um, we decided we didn't want to do GTE. We wanted to try something new, go out of our comfort zone. And so we actually did we talked about it between LMP, LMP1, LMP2, and it was kind of mixed, but we decided to take the LMP1, and that was probably back in early April, maybe, so still like 2 months before the race, maybe late March, somewhere in there. I don't know when. So from there we went to what car do we want. And we thought about this for a long time because I knew going into this race I wanted to have a different approach to everything. I wanted to really think through everything. So, we thought about the cars. Of course, we thought about the speed of the cars, which one's better, which one's not. And I remember, personally, I liked the handling on the Porsche 919 more. I liked how it handled better. Um, I liked, everything about the Porsche, and we were originally going to go with the Porsche because uh, I personally just liked the Porsche more. I did like it more. It was just a better car, in my opinion. And then that was when we kind of ran into some problems with visibility in the car. We realized, this car is the visibility on this thing is atrocious, and we need to have the visibility for situational awareness, for making corners, for knowing where the apex is. And it was really, really difficult in the Porsche because you have these two huge, um, uh, Yake, Papa Beard on Twitch calls them canoes, but just the fenders are just ridiculously huge on the front, and it basically blocks you from seeing the apex of any corner. And the biggest kind of turning point was um, the Ford chicanes, the final two corners on the whole track. Because the Porsche was a left-hand drive car, which is what we are all used to. The final Ford chicane, so you have the left-hander, right-hander, and then you have an even tighter left-hander, right-hander, and then you're on the front straightaway, where the start-finish line is. We could not see the left-hander on that second sharper Ford chicane. You couldn't see it. You had to basically guess. And so that's when we came together and thought, you know what, let's take the Audi. None of us were comfortable in any of the cars, like, because we just never drive LMP1, so it didn't really matter much. I just know I like the handling more on the Porsche, but because of the visibility, we thought safety would be an issue. And with the Audi, you don't have the huge fenders on the sides, but also you sit on the right side of the car, which that means going into the Ford chicanes where it's very easy to get floor damage. which is incredibly difficult to fix. And floor damage, I don't think you can fix in iRacing. I think if you get floor damage, you're just down on top speed, and it's the end of the story. But we decided that we were gonna take the Audi instead, and a big reason was because it was right hand drive, and because you sit on the right side of the car. It allows you to have a better view of that left-hander apex because you're more to the right to be able to look out the window and see it. So that's when we started, practicing with the Audi. We, just put in a few laps. I remember Kalen bought the car that night, and he was doing about 328s. So about 8-9 seconds off the pace. But we just kept doing laps. And I'd say for the next month, so probably the whole month of April, we set up, Tuesdays when we're going to practice for this race every Tuesday, because that's when me and Graham don't stream. We're like, you know what, every Tuesday we're going to practice for this race, get that going. Started to become more and more comfortable with the car. Pace was starting to, improve. We were able to get, low 20s, like 21s, 20s through 22s. And we really started to refine it. Kalen picked it up like crazy. Kalen, the car just fit him like a glove. And he was able to be the quickest, honestly. He was the quickest out of the four of us. I'd say him or Graham, but Kalen definitely put in the most laps probably for this race. And so, we were doing that, but the thing is, and this is kind of the part where I don't think many people understand, and I myself didn't understand until this race. But there's more to endurance racing than just practicing and knowing the car and knowing the track and knowing the limits and not crashing. There's more to an endurance race than that. And that is situational awareness and basically controlling other cars on the track, having good car language, which is what I call it, aka it's basically body language, but since you're in a car, we call it car language. So just being able to kind of read what other people are doing without them actually saying what they're doing. And we thought about there's only two ways that this race is going to go bad for us. Either one, we don't know the car well enough and we're going to end up crashing the car ourselves, or B, we're going to know the car well enough but we're going to get taken out by someone else, whether it be we get collected in a crash, we get punted, whatever it may be. That's just the bottom line. And so we, going in, we thought if we can somehow negate both these things, if we can figure out how to, obviously be in control of the car, know the car well, but also be able to, kind of know our situational awareness, be alert, and whatnot, then we have a good chance at winning this. And so I started by making a map with passing zones. And I told all the drivers, we had the LMP1, LMP2 squad. And I told all of them, I said, listen, guys, this is a map of the passing zones. We're going to stick to this like gospel. We're going to be strict about this. You are not allowed to pass in these zones. You're not allowed. Simply cannot do it. Even if you lose time, even if you lose like maybe slipstream to the LMP in front, even if you lose like 5 seconds to the guy in front, no matter what, you do not pass through these zones, and you only pass through these zones pretty much. And I did this because obviously in a 24 you need to manage your risk reward. If you can control a lot of the safety factors that can cause people to crash, then you have a good chance at winning it, because they don't have these, they don't control. And I always wondered how some teams can run a 24-hour race and they always seem untouchable. I always wondered it. You know, there's always that one team in an endurance race that's out front with no damage. You know, they're not making mistakes. They're just out front. Whether it be Le Mans, Spa, Nürburgring, you know, Petit Le Mans, Daytona 24, whatever it may be, there's always that one team that's out front that just seems untouchable. And you think to yourself, how can they do this? Like, they're just so lucky. But the reality is it's not luck. There is skills that go into that, and that is being able to manage all of the things that could possibly go wrong and mitigate that. For instance, okay, we had the passing zones, okay? That lowered our chance of a wreck with another car, I would say by probably 70%. Because you got to understand, I mean, at least in LMP, the GTEs don't want to crash because they're also running a race that's just as important to them. You know, like they don't want to crash. They're not gonna purposely try to be idiots. You know, it's not like ILMS where it's like you have just random guys just join up and stuff. Like they're also gonna be safe. So if we just pass in zones that are deemed safe for both us and the GTEs, they're gonna give us the room and we're gonna pass them. And at the end of the race, you know, let's just pretend you pass 10 GTEs a lap, okay? That might be a little high. That might be about right, I guess. Maybe 5 to 10 GTEs a lap, okay? Over the course of 24 hours, there were 431 laps in this race. You know, take 431 times 10, and I believe that's 4,310. 4,000, over 4,000 passes, okay? What are the odds of people who, you know, don't have passing zones, people who go for risky moves? Out of 4,300 passes, don't you think one of those passes, there's a high chance that one of those passes does not work out and that they end up crashing, whether they go wide, hit the grass and spin, or the GTE doesn't expect them to send it and then they turn in and get taken out. It's just bound to happen. Like statistically, it's bound to happen. So we lowered our chances of wrecking by only passing in these zones. That is something that we can control, and we chose to control it. Some other things we did is we have a pre-checklist, okay, for technical issues. Everyone hates driving and the internet goes out, the power goes out. A lot of that stuff you cannot control. Anything that we could have control over, we made sure we controlled it. That's the bottom line. And that's a bottom line. If you can have control over it, we had control over it. So, for instance, before anyone hopped in the car, we told them, you know, turn your wheel 360 degrees, make sure force feedback's good, you know, check that brake bias works, wiggle your pedals, make sure your pedals are sturdy, make sure you have your boost box overlay open, you know, make sure that your, you know, wheelbase is on because, Galen clamps his wheel to his desk, so you know he has his clamp not like drilled in. So you know, told him, you know, make sure the wheel's sturdy. You know, make sure that everything's good to go. Stuff like that, and that's to control the stuff that we can control. Now, if the internet or power went out, we can't control that. That I guess you could say is kind of luck that didn't happen, but statistically, it's very rare that happens to begin with for most people, but we just had to deal with it. That's just the way of life. If internet or power goes out, it's just the way of the road. There's just no way to kind of fix that. You know, unless you know you have an unstable internet connection, in which case you shouldn't even attempt the race. You know, there's no way to control it, but anything we could have control over, we controlled over. Everything and anything. You know, we had you know, plans like if we had damage, how we would kind of handle the damage when we'd retire. We all kind of agreed, you know, on certain retirement conditions. That way we don't kind of discuss like, oh, should we keep going? Should we not? It's like, no, we know if we're going to keep going or not. And we just knew that that's what it was going to take to lower the chances of anything bad happening, and understanding that the stuff that's out of our control, it's out of our control. Don't worry about it. The stuff that's in control, the stuff that we can control, we need to control. So for instance, another example was punting, okay? Punting is very, very annoying because obviously you don't have much control over it. You have somebody behind you and you go to brake and they miss their braking zone. It's just the fact. You control them being late on the brakes and going wide or locking up? No, you can't. But we looked at it from a perspective of what can we control if someone behind looks like they're gonna punt us. And the answer to that was simple. Anytime we went into a corner, if there was a car that was right behind us, we looked in our mirrors more so than normal. I mean, we obviously looked at the apex, but we were glancing up in the mirrors in the braking zone to see if they were getting really close. And if they were getting really close, we're told to just turn as hard as you can. Even if you miss the apex, miss the whole corner, get a slow down, just turn the wheel just to get away from them so that they'll, fly right by you. And that happened a few times in the race where I think I would have gotten punted if I didn't, try to take action. And so that's an example of taking control of something that you can control. You can only control something that there's some stuff that's out of your control, such as the car that's basically attempting to punt you or missing its braking zone or whatever. But there's some stuff that you can do though still to try and avoid that and not 100% cry victim on it. So it's things like these that we talked about for the next month or two through April and May, and of course we were still practicing. And we went through all these plans, these ideas, these having an answer for everything. We had an answer for everything. We were feeling extremely comfortable in the car. We had our passing zones. Everyone knew the passing zones. Everybody knew, their boost strategy. We shout out to the help of some others in the iRacing community for giving us boost strategies. They gave us some good boost strategies and whatnot. And all of that played a pretty big factor in what happened yesterday. And it's honestly insane. I got emotional yesterday after the race because of so many factors. One was, first off, I was just tired. I was just exhausted. So I was almost glad it was over. Two, it was a stress that it was finally over. We were leading for over half the race. And it was just, I constantly was like, can it just end now? Can it just end now? Can it just end now? It still had 8 hours left. So finally being able to have it end was just an insane relief. And then also, Le Mans was always a goal of mine to win. It was a goal of the teams to win. Thinking back to all the practice, it was worth it. The practice was worth it. That there were a lot of times, a lot of the times, we just didn't feel like practicing. I know I didn't, but we had team meetings and stuff and decided, we got to keep going strong with this program that we have. We got to set it up. We got to do it. And also emotional just because of the history at Le Mans, first ever endurance race, getting kicked getting sacked from the car for the lack of pace last year. And then to come back this year and we were able to do that. And speaking of pace though, the reason all of us were on the same pace, a lot of it is because we're fairly evenly skilled, but another reason is because we practiced for so long. See, the thing is, anyone could get quick at a track, okay? Anyone could get quick at a circuit. It's just sometimes it takes people longer and sometimes it takes people shorter to get quick at a circuit. That's just a fact. Okay? You could take anyone, someone who doesn't race, and they could get quick at the track. It might take them a year, but they'll get quick at the track. You take an alien in iRacing and they'll be quick at a track in probably a day, okay? But since we took 2 months of constant practice, that meant that whether it took somebody, a week to get quick, whether it took somebody a month to get quick, there was enough time for everybody to reach their max potential. And that's something I think people fail to do is they'll they'll sign up, or they'll start practicing for a race maybe like a month before, or maybe 3 weeks before. They'll start practicing, and like that's great and all if you have someone who's quick, but not everybody has the same amount of, or can get up to pace that quickly, and so then you end up having fast drivers and slow drivers. If you started practicing for next year's Le Mans right now, all your drivers would be like the exact same pace come next year, because they all have a year to hone in their speed. And obviously it gets to a point where you can't really go much quicker because you're on the limit. So that's why we were all pretty evenly paced, is just because we all spent so long driving that we all were able to uh build pace at our own pace. And it worked out in the end. So yeah, that's it. I guess I kind of wanted to share this because uh I think it's something that people should know about, like, and for future races we're gonna do this as well. Spa 24 we won't have much time to prepare. But there, I would say the closing point, if you want to do well in endurances, is to be able to control the stuff that only worry about the stuff that you can control, and think of every aspect and just focus on that. And no, we're not in the endurance gods, of course, and I'm not saying that we're the best of the best. We're not. I mean, we did first time slot. Granted, it was top split, but it wasn't even the main time slot. But I definitely think that there's some stuff that I'm sharing this not to like show off that we won. I'm sharing this to try and help. I'm sharing this because I had a theory. I had a theory on how to win these races. It was a theory. I couldn't prove it because I didn't do it. It was just a theory. But now that we've won it, I'm sharing this to show that that theory was correct. Or at least that the theory helped. So that's why I'm making this. And also just yeah. I mean, it hasn't sunk in that we won Le Mans, but yeah, that's it though, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Have a good day.